Hey guys, Sharpend here. In this video I'm going to show you how to turn basic patterns like this into complex synth flips like this. In addition to that, we're also going to manipulate these blips to create more ambient atmospheric sounds like these. So the great thing about this sound is that it's really simple to make, but you can get really cool results the more you mess with it. So the first thing you want to do is to choose a sound. You want something that's plucky and very short. I like to just go with a sine wave that I'm removing the sustain on its volume envelope and just having like 500 milliseconds of decay, like so. And I like to add some vibrato by modulating the fine tuning here. I'm modulating it pretty fast at 10 Hertz. And then you want to pick a chord. So I've chosen G minor 7, which is G, A sharp, D, and F. And then you want to play it in a weird pattern. Just if you have a MIDI keyboard, it's great. If you don't, just mess around and create something. It doesn't need to be on rhythm. Like this one. As you can see, I'm playing some notes an octave above and an octave below as well to add some variation. And once you have your basic pattern, in order to create these long blips, basically you need a lot of delay. So I've been really digging the Valhalla Supermassive, and I found that the Lyra and the Capricorn modes work great for this type of sounds, mostly because they don't sound too reverb like the other modes. So let's start with Lyra. I'm going to use note mode. I'm going to set it to an eighth note, and I'm going to remove the depth. So I'm basically removing all of the chorus modulation that was happening, and I'm going to create another one. So I'm going to set it to Capricorn, and I'm going to set it to a quarter of a note, and I'm going to create another one and set it to a dotted quarter note. So now let's play it all together. So as you can hear, we already have something that's very reminiscent of this sound, but you can do a lot of tiny things to make this sound much better. So as you can hear, the repetitions are very dry right now thanks to these modes, but we can change that by increasing the rap and the density. So the more you increase the rap and the more you increase the density, you get more of echoey feedback, and you introduce a lot of reverb to your sound, and you also mess with the delay settings by a bit. It changes the timings of the delay itself, which creates some nice variation. So I'm going to do just that. As you can see, I'm adding just a tiny amount on the rap and on the density, and I'm also adding some depth to add some chorus modulation as well. And let's hear it now. As you can see, now it's a bit more blurry and the pattern is less clear than before, which is great. And if we, for example, would increase the rap by a lot, you would hear that it becomes very reverbed out. So let's hear that one as well, which can also work pretty fine, but I'm going to go with something fairly low on the rap to get, at least at first, a very dry sound. So what I'm going to do now is to record this sound. So now that it's finished recording, you can see that I left a pretty long tail because the feedback takes a long time to disappear. So in the tail you can still find some interesting bits. And now I'm going to just put this clip through some volume amplification, and I'm going to put it into our playlist. And now there are other cool things you can do, like for example just pitching it down. I'm going to use the stretch mode, and I'm going to pitch it one octave below. But the fun stuff really happens when you start to stretch it. So I'm going to stretch it to be 2 times longer than the original. And now we have sort of like a rhythmic pulse that keeps changing all the time. And now we can run this thing through another Valhalla Supermassive, but in this case we can use the rap to our advantage. So I'm going to set a reverb mode like the Great Annihilator. I'm going to set the wrap to be fairly high, and I'm going to set the delay to like 500 milliseconds. So now when the wrap is high and I'm going to increase the density, we're going to get a very reverbed sound of our delay. And I'm going to reduce the chorus by a bit, and now I can chord this one and get an atmosphere out of blippy sounds. So now that it's finished recording, let's hear the atmosphere. So as you can hear, it started very clear until the delay and reverb kicked in and became very blurry. So you can use this as just any regular chord atmosphere and put it in behind your tracks. And one more thing that you can do is take the original. So I'm going to take this pattern right here. I'm going to remove almost all of the wrap, and you can change the tempo of your pattern of your entire project, and that way you can create different very interesting rhythms. So let's hear the original one more time. And if we increase the tempo, we can get even faster blips. We can get sounds that are so fast that sound like they're being played at the same time, all of the notes. And we can also slow it down by quite a lot to get much more rhythmical patterns out of this sound. And that way you can experiment with just a small pattern and create very complex and different blips. You can then add some wrap to make them sound more like atmospheres than rhythmic patterns. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what subject you want me to cover up next time.